Alright, let's dive into something that's been on my mind lately, Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Now, I know this film isn't exactly fresh off the press, but with the recent passing of Sam Neill, it feels like the perfect time to revisit this gem. And let me tell you, this movie is a masterclass in blending heart, humor, and a touch of the absurd. It's like if Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid had a love child with the kid, but with a Kiwi twist. Personally, I think what makes this film so special is how it manages to be both goofy and profound, often in the same breath. Taika Waititi, the mastermind behind this, brings his signature quirkiness to the table, but here's the thing, he doesn't let it overpower the story. What many people don't realize is that Waititi's best work often comes from stepping back and letting the characters shine. And in this case, those characters are Hector, Sam Neill, and Ricky, Julian Dennison, an unlikely duo that feels both absurd and utterly real. Hector, played by Neill, is this grumpy, self-reliant farmer who's basically the human equivalent of a grumpy cat. But there's a warmth to him, a depth that Neill brings to the role that's just chef's kiss. What makes this really interesting is how Hector's relationship with Ricky evolves. At first, it's all begrudging tolerance, but as they're forced to go on the run together, you see this unspoken bond form. It's not sappy, it's earned. And that's what makes it so compelling. Now, let's talk about Ricky. Julian Dennison is a revelation here. He's this tough, street-smart kid who's been let down by the system, but there's this vulnerability to him that's impossible to ignore. One thing that immediately stands out is how Waititi avoids the typical tropes of the troubled teen. Ricky isn't just a stereotype, he's a fully realized character with dreams, fears, and a wicked sense of humor. The dynamic between Hector and Ricky is where the movie really shines. They're like two wildebeests stumbling through the New Zealand wilderness, and it's both hilarious and oddly beautiful. What this really suggests is that family isn't always about blood, it's about who shows up for you. And in this case, it's a grumpy old man and a kid who's been written off by society. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The film doesn't shy away from the darker stuff. There's loss, there's trauma, and there's this looming threat of the state trying to tear these two apart. What many people don't realize is that Waititi balances this with humor in a way that never feels disrespectful. It's like he's saying, life is hard, but it's also kind of ridiculous, so let's laugh while we can. Take the scene where Hector and Ricky are mistaken for fugitives, and the whole country starts rooting for them. It's absurd, but it's also a commentary on how we romanticize outsiders. If you take a step back and think about it, these two aren't heroes, they're just trying to survive. But in the eyes of the public, they become symbols of rebellion. This raises a deeper question: why do we love underdogs so much? Is it because we see ourselves in them? And let's not forget the supporting cast. Rachel House as Paula, the child welfare worker, is an absolute scene stealer. Her deadpan delivery and Terminator references are gold. Personally, I think she's the unsung hero of this film. She's the embodiment of the system, rigid, by the book, but there's this humanity to her that peeks through, especially in her interactions with Ricky. What makes this film stick with me, though, is its heart. It's not just a comedy, and it's not just a drama, it's a love letter to found family, to resilience, and to the beauty of New Zealand's landscapes. Seriously, the cinematography is stunning. Te Urewera looks like something out of a dream, and it's the perfect backdrop for this oddball adventure. In my opinion, Hunt for the Wilderpeople is one of those rare films that gets better with every rewatch. It's funny, it's heartfelt, and it's got Sam Neill at his absolute best. What this really suggests is that sometimes the best stories are the ones that don't try too hard. They just let the characters breathe, let the humor land naturally, and let the audience fall in love with them. So, here's my closing thought: what if we all approach life a little more like Hector and Ricky? With a bit of grit, a lot of humor, and the willingness to lean on each other when things get tough. Personally, I think the world could use a little more of that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't seen Hunt for the Wilderpeople yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. Trust me, you won't regret it.